So here we got the recording going back on again. And so as I was saying, that we're going to be looking at these readings from a slightly different point of view now, or a deeper point of view. You've done a preview where you got some basic ideas and you noted some keywords that were bold in titles and captions. Now I want you to use those to look at these more closely and get further reading. That's called a scan. And so I can demonstrate that a bit today. We went over this azimuth and thing, but I'm going to show you on the Jamboard one more time what it means. And then I'm going to show you really how to get those readings done. Our students that were able to survey yesterday figured out how to get the camera, the phone camera right up to the eyepiece and actually get images that we can use. And so there we go. That's mostly it for the session for today. So let's take a look. First of all, I want to review regional planning. And one of the things that came up from regional planning was zoning. So if I do a Control F and type in zoning, I can find a bunch of them here, and I can get a little bit more information. Okay, regional planning is, oh, there it is, efficient placement of infrastructure and zoning for sustained growth in a region. Okay, so regional planning, there might be regional zones. These would be innovation zones, agricultural zones, economic redevelopment zones, commercial zones, industrial zones. And so by cluing these in, you can do it. So that's the goal for this week, is you look at some of these. Here's another regional policy. Oh, mix of housing and communities. And there's the next one. Building codes, zoning laws. So best use of land. So now you can start writing down more phrases that have to do with zoning as part of regional planning. Right? Another one might have been urban. Let's look at urban. New urbanists promote, address region-wide environmental. Okay, so urban planners do this. Let's look at the next one. So see how I'm not reading everything? I'm just kind of like jumping right to. Okay, there's urban planning. I would follow that link maybe and go see that. Maybe here's some more. Urban planning. I don't even know what those are. I'd have to look at those and see what they are. But it gives me a place to go where I can start doing more interesting reading. So I've got, okay, urban planning, broader scale, formulating laws. Okay, so that's what regional planning does at an urban level. And then we looked at zoning. So those keywords that you got last week are now clearly to be used in how you read these this week, and you'll be doing more key phrases, phrases and things that you know about, and putting them into your work. Okay, as you expand your understanding under these terms. Okay, so that's how you do your study of these same ones this time. So here's another one, and I can do it the same. That was regional planning, and I think I followed that urban planning one. Regional planning organization. So then I looked up, that was one of the ones that I saw, urban planning, land use. So these have many of the same ones. Okay, but oh, this says there are government bodies that guide the development. That leads us into what government bodies do we look at. Okay, and we look at a cog. Yes, so Eric asks, I went way farther last week. Can you use that this week? Absolutely. Just make sure that you're identifying the keywords that you used. So this is about the structure of your study as well as the results. So make sure that you've got keywords identified, keywords in place, and that this week you've identified which keywords you used to go into it, because this is a research method that you are absolutely going to need as you as you get into work in the world of planning. And believe it or not, it's like, oh my gosh, planners are everywhere. They plan things, so you're going to touch it if you're doing design. So yes, that was a good question and a good point. Yeah, yep. So gotcha. Absolutely, you are right. Uh, and so we're gonna also now talk about a COG, a Council of Government, or an RC. Okay, and these are important, not at the level that we're going to be doing our planning at, but you got to know where things are coming from. And I'll tell you, if you want funding for a cool project, these COGs disperse government grants. And so if you know how the COG is dispersing government grants in your area, right? In your planning neighborhood council or area council or local government council, your local planning group, you can actually ask for money to do cool things. As an example, if you wanted to put up solar, there are big solar grants coming from the COGs, and you can say, okay, I'm falling under this. I'd like $5,000 to put in this extra cool little bit of my thing so that the information can be used in a microgrid, so that I can be used in a microgrid. And so it's not just your normal everyday thing, but you can get extra money, and then your approval process is like, oh, this is doing something good. It's getting our microgrids. Yeah, we want to approve that. And then if there's a little problem somewhere, they'll help you address it. So knowing that there's a COG is really important to us. And so that's one of the stakeholders, right? We're working on the stakeholders here. So on your stakeholder side now, you might have seen that there are COGs and MPOs and RPMs and planning councils and things like that. So COG would be one of the stakeholders. Okay, one of the local groups. It has an input, has an interest, even though it might, be from, a long way away through a telescope. They've got an interest in your project. Okay, and so then you can put in COG up here and over here, but it's good just to know what's going on. Wow, here's lists of them. Look at how many of them are. There's 39,000 governmental agencies that have to do with planning, and 35,000 of them are associated with a COG or an RC. And you might go, an RC. What is an RC? Regional Council. Okay, so now once you've got this, you might look at stakeholders. Okay, who are ours? Okay, who are our people that belong to the SACOG. So let's look up SACOG. Sacramento Area Council of Governments. There it is right there. So all of a sudden now you can start looking at this. Regional plans. Wow. Regional, this is like a regional blueprint and everything. So this is what's funding. Whoop, 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 whoop. How do I get money? How do I get money? So these are ways that you can figure out how to get money. Projects. Climate adaptation. Green means go. Housing. There's housing. Innovative mobility. Public transportation. This is the area where we're going to start being able to see if what we do has these. So you don't need to know a lot about these. Tools and data. Data Resource Center. Wow, look at all these places. Sacramento, El Dorado, Placer, Sacramento, Sutter, Yola. So now all of a sudden you're getting an idea of who you can be working with here. And it's not that you go from top down, but it's when you feel that you have a need and you might be able to say that you're in alignment with, you know where to go. Okay, so these are a set of stakeholders, and you can figure out what they are. These are counties. These are all counties. You look at it. Counties. So a set of stakeholders would be counties. Okay, so our counties all are stakeholders. And those are counties probably in something called a region. So there's a region. Okay, and they talk about things like revitalization, toolkits. Kind of neat. Okay, so these are all places where you could go to start looking. 6 counties. So there again, it's about counties. So that's what you want to take out of this. County. Okay, so their counties are the stakeholders. And then in about, it might have, what do they do? Right? These are the things that they do. You know, what's their goal? This is not very good. They should have a mission statement. Not very, this is if I were to go over this from a quality assurance standpoint, this is horrible. What's their mission? Who are they? You know, this is pretty crummy. Can't even tell what their mission is. But you see this often. I'm not a web designer, but I'm a quality management person. I hack up people's websites all the time for this. But you can at least find a few things. Okay? So there we go. So that's that. Now, I'm going to preview your next level for you. Since we're looking at Sac County, we can do Sac County planning. And this is just to kind of preview you. Next week, we're going to be talking about things. What can we do? And so again, this doesn't tell us anything about, doesn't tell me what they are. But I can look around and guess. They do things. Oh, look at this. They do environmental stuff. They do land use stuff. They do programs and permits. They do all these things. We're going to live in here. This is where we're going to start living next. And our documents have to support these. Now you see where we're going. Okay, so if I click on land use, this gets me into this thing down here, you know, zoning code, community plans. Each community has a plan. Here are the communities and what their plans are. How cool is that, right? So we can get to cool things by going to different places and finding things out. Okay, so part of your job in your concept map is to follow this to get to where you want to go for certain things. Okay, so there we go. So that's what I wanted to go over on these readings right in here. So that was how to do these readings with respect to this week. Keywords, find them, note them, put them into your thing, and then categorize them. You need to be able to categorize them so when you go, okay, I need something about drawings and details and how to do those. I go here. I need to know who to go to for money. Let me look at the stakeholders. They're the people with money. So you can branch those off as you go and start making that map of knowledge that you've got. Okay, let's look at this azimuth angle Jamboard. The next thing. So here's our Jamboard. And this really tells us, I think this is the one I want. Yeah, this is the one I want. So, and this is a little bit of a repeat. So on Tuesday, we talked about you set up your theodolite and its 0 point on its angle is somewhere. You don't even know. You don't care. I'll tell you why in a few weeks, but you don't care. And you're going to go place your rod and you're going to get a reading of some sort. Okay, so I'm going to come on to here and I'm going to show you some pictures about that. Albums. Where's my albums? Nope. Where are my albums? Here they are. So somewhere there you are. You're set up somewhere and there's a rod out there. And so you want to be able to turn this and focus it up and look at your rod and measure from your theodolite to your rod and record the angle, the azimuth reading from here. I need to show you how to do that. Okay, so here we go. We're set up. My theodolite is looking at my rod, and I need to measure that angle. And by measuring the distance and the angle from my theodolite, I can identify exactly where that is. And I'm going to put some conditions on that statement later on, but right now, we'll just say I know where it is. That's the whole purpose of this week. How do I read that angle? So now, let's take a look. When I look through the eyepiece, okay, we talked about using these to set you level. Okay, now when I look at the eyepiece, and I'm not talking about elevation yet, there's a little bit more leveling of this to do before we do that. But let me go ahead and bring this one up. Okay, I look through this tiny little bump and line it up through my target at the rod. And when I do so, I can look through this eyepiece and I use this adjustment here to get the reticle to show up. The reticle is inside the eyepiece. There's a little set of crosshairs. And I have to focus it for my eyes so it shows up. And this means something, but this little crosshair right here should be right on the middle of the rod reading. And so I have to make it so I can see that. These little bumps all mean something that we'll deal with later. Okay, so where did it go? So I'm going to change, I'm going to make this little one right here. I'm going to go back and forth until when I look through, I can see that reticle show up. And then I have to use this one up here to get me to focus on the rod. That is really hard to do. Like, that takes me 5 minutes, and I got to move back and forth and get it to focus on the rod. And I might not be right on the rod yet. And so I use my little knobs to kind of like, not tighten it down to get it stiff. And then I can move my azimuth. I can change it in this horizontal plane around the center using this knob. And eventually it'll line up right on the knob, right on the rod. So this is my gross adjustment. Okay, and I get it in there set pretty close. I make sure I can see the reticle. I can make sure the rod is in focus, and then I adjust the little knob until I'm centered up right on the rod. Okay, and then I lock it down because I don't want to bump it. And then I have to look through my little eyepiece here to get my readings. Now, to be able to see what's inside, all of the reading mechanisms are inside here. So I have to get some light in there, and usually just opening this mirror up so it shines some light inside is enough. But occasionally you got to get a flashlight to read it. So you open up and you look through here. So what have we done so far? Leveled, looked through the bump through the target so it lines up on the rod, adjusted the reticle so I can see it, adjusted the focus so that I can see the rod, fine adjusted my azimuth angle so that the reticle is truly centered up on the rod, and locked it down, opened this up. Now you know why you have to actually do it a couple of times to really get this down. Okay? But that's okay. You're going to be able to at least kind of remember this often enough to go. Now, what we're going to do is see what the reading is. When I look inside there, this is what I get. I'm going to ignore the vertical right now. You can see on here, my sight was not level. I don't care right now. I'm not doing the vertical. I am doing the azimuth, the horizontal. So I can see this is degrees and this is minutes. But these minutes are pretty chunky clunky. So this is 198 and somewhere between 10 and 20. Somewhere between 10 and 20. So I have to add my marker number from the middle one. Okay, so it looks like it's around pretty close to 7. So 198 degrees, 17 minutes, 10 plus 7, 198 degrees, 17 minutes, and it's pretty close to 0. 0 seconds. I could get really fancy and go 198 minutes, 16 minutes, and almost 60. 20, 40, 60. Okay, so that would be maybe 58 or 59 seconds. Okay, we don't need to get that close. But do you see how you do it? Degrees, and you just look at the double mark and get close. Degrees. The rough estimate of minutes, and I could kind of estimate that. If I looked at that, that's probably 10, 15, 16 or 17. Oh, it's almost 17. So I could call it 17 minutes, or I could say it's 16 minutes and almost 17, 20, 40, 60, a little bit less, 58 or 59 minutes. And I'm ignoring my vertical right now. I am just getting my azimuth angle. How does that sound? Like, okay, I got it. Let's take it another one. Here's another one. Okay. So what do we have on this one? Again, my degrees are whatever two strokes line up somewhere in there. So it's 294 degrees. And I can tell it's a little bit over 50 minutes. Right? Because there's my minutes. 294 and 50-something minutes. 54 minutes. It's in between the two fours. 290 degrees, 54 minutes, and I don't know. Eric, take a guess on the seconds. Not quite 10. What would you guess there? If you were to take a guess on that. That would be 0, 10. That would be 10. So it's somewhere between 5 and 0. What do you guess? Like 2 or 3 maybe, right? So I've got you on one speaker, but not on another one. That's interesting. That's cool. Microphone not working. Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of on, but now it's not. But that's cool. Okay. So it's about 294 degrees, 54 minutes, and maybe four seconds. Okay, so that's what we got for that one. That's how it rolls. Okay, so that's how we do our readings. Kind of, it's hard, right? You got to get used to doing those. And so I've got a couple of them in your submittal for you to look at and see and try to do, and just get good at. We'll do more. I'm gonna make more of them for you to do. So like there's one, and it's almost the same between the two of them. Okay, there we go. Back on and working. Good. So as an example, you can see this one is almost the same as this one. Not quite, but they're a little bit different. Okay, and so I just want you to figure out what this one reads and just type it in right over here. And you would read it, do it as something like XXXD something minutes, something seconds. Okay? Yeah, Eric. There we go. Yep. And that one or the other one? Nope, the other one. The other one. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yep. Well, yeah, but this one isn't on a number. This one's just hanging out Yeah, there we go. Got it. So it has to be like in the range. Yeah. Yeah. And what you see is this is when you actually look at it, these are sort of fixed in place and these go marching across. So as I'm moving it, if I was going closer to 295, this one would go off and 295 would come on. Cool, yeah. And this one stays where it is, and these numbers march back and forth. So it's kind of a weird little scale. Okay, that was a good question though. That's important stuff that we get that. Okay. So that's the thing, and I'm gonna try to get a simulator made that does that, so that you can really practice it, because that's really the part. Get those readings and get them on, and get those readings and get them on. Okay, now I am afraid that our simulators might not be working. There was a problem yesterday. Oh, it looks like maybe they got it back on. Woo! Okay, they got it back on. So I'm going to click here to start. Here's how you do it. First of all, look around. Here's a big empty site. Okay. Press the W key, the S key. I'm looking around with the mouse. Here's the A key, the D key. Wherever I'm facing, that's forward. That's forward. So what I want you to do is just go put some things in there. Control, line up the dot, left click, and I've got a rod. Now when I'm near it, it gives me my XYZ position. So that's filling in the record that we had last week. That's the record we had last week, X, Y, and Z. And that's cool, you can do that. But if I press V, now I'm looking through a scope. And when I get to it, it's got, on the left is the elevation, 5.6. You don't need that. But now it's doing decimal degree readings. That's okay. You can put it in there. 149.8 degrees at, 149.8 feet at 237 degrees. And you could write the XYZ position of your scope. Okay, so your simulation, this is like doing the lab. It's as close as I can come to having you do the lab. So the goal would be just get in here. I don't care where you put stuff, how you put stuff. Throw a rod down and then look at it. If you want to change, now I'm going to hit escape. No, I'm going to hit V. If you want to change where you put there's your theodolite. If you want to change where you put the theodolite, now I have to remember. C down, left click. Okay, now I have to remember how to put down a new camera. I think it's C. Okay, if I hold down C for a new camera location and I left click, it moves my theodolite. And if I type V, now I'm looking through it again, and you can see I put it in a new location. Okay, so that's the goal. Go put in some rods somewhere, put your thing down, hold down the C button and click, and then see if you can see it. Now, on this site, depending on where you put it, you might be too high or too low or whatever. Okay? And then I'll push V to get out of that. I want to go put in another rod. W, I'll move forward. Let me get this other one here. I'll hold Control down and I'll click my mouse. Now I have another rod. If I go back to V, now I've got two rods to look at. I've got that one, and I can say the angle, 246 degrees, and the distance, 91.9. There's the distance, 84.4. And now look, I can probably get that one in too. Let me walk over there. This is about as close as you can come to doing a real survey. Now I can get my third one. Maybe. Oh, I have it too close. It's not safe. I have to move it away from the wall just a little bit. I wonder if it can only see one at a time. Oh, it's because I'm too close. Let me, now I can see that one. Now I can see that one. Now I can see that one. I was standing too close to it. Okay. Isn't that cool? You get to practice the lab. This is your simulation. And I think the first one works better than the second one. I might have a scaling issue with the scope on the second one. All right? So that's your simulation. Next week, we're going to talk about reading the elevations, and you're still just practicing. But in week 5, you're going to do a survey. And you're going to do a survey in here. And you're going to draw your results. So get working on practicing this. And you're going to do it with a partner. Well, sort of. You're going to give your data to somebody else to draw. Cool. And you're going to get kind of graded on how good your drawing is. Your data is that they drew. Okay, so there we go. I think that's what I wanted to go over today. And let me see if there's the simulation. You know how to trace a map. I think we went over that one. Distance, azimuth, drop bear falls, just do it again. I talked about the discussion postings. I think I've gone over all of the things that I feel that I need to go over. The rest you can read. Questions or comments? Okay, then I am going to stop the recording.